him up, pick him up, get him up, let him up, bring him up, hey yo, it's fight night. Hit him up, set him up, pick him up, get him up, let him up, bring him up, hey yo, it's fight night.
Nathaniel Wood, the prospect. Nathaniel Wood, let me put some respect on his name, versus Vince Vendetta Morales. Let's take a look at their record. We got Nathaniel Wood, he's 3-2 out of his last 5 fights, and we got his opponent the same. Nathaniel Wood's going to be the favorite. He's the younger fighter. He's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. I do have Nathaniel Wood winning by knockout in the second round. I just think he's the better fighter. He's more well-rounded. But make no mistake, Vince Morales is game. This will be a good fight, but Nathaniel Wood is going to be my pick. Next fight, we have Elise Reed versus Corey McKenna. Elise Reed, 4-1 out of her last 5 fights, and her opponent the same, 4-1 out of her last 5 fights, Corey McKenna. I have Corey McKenna winning this fight by decision. She's going to be the younger fighter. She's riding a 4-fight win streak, and Elise Reed is coming off a loss. Both young. They're going to have a fine future, but when it comes to skill, I'm going to have to give the edge to McKenna. That's my pick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this particular fight. Next fight, Mike Grundy versus Makwan Amirkhani. He's 3-2 out of his last 5 fights, and his opponent is actually 1-4 out of their last 5 fights. So both of these guys need this win. Unfortunately for Makwan, I'm going to have to side with Mike Grundy for these reasons. His cardio, he has about 1 round of cardio, and after that, he's fish out of water. It's just horrible. I will say this, though. I wouldn't load up on Mike Grundy. I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket simply for the fact that Makwan does have a legit chance to submit Mike Grundy in the first round. But I'm going to go ahead and say Mike Grundy's grappling and Makwan's grappling will cancel out each other. And then Makwan's gas tank will die down in the second and third round, and Mike Grundy should be able to edge it out a unanimous decision or knockout in third round. My pick here is Mike Grundy. Our next fight, we have another prospect making his UFC debut. His name is Mohammed. I'm not going to even try to attempt to say that last name, but he will be going against Cody Durden. Now, the lines don't really match. We have 5-0 prospect Mohammed, 5-0 at his last 5 fights, going against Cody Durden, who's 3-1-1. That's 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Mohammed's going to be the younger fighter. He's actually 21 years old. Cody's going to be the fighter with more experience. I just think this young prospect is more well-rounded, and I think he will edge out the victory. But make no mistake, this will be a tough fight. So don't load up. Again, don't put all eggs in the same basket. I got Mohammed by decision. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our next fight, we have Molly versus Luanna Carolina. Molly is 3-2 out of her last 5 fights. And Carolina is 4-1, and she's riding a 2-fight winning streak, and Molly is riding a 1-fight winning streak. Luanna actually is going to be the younger fighter in this. Molly actually is going to have a 7-inch reach disadvantage. However, I think Molly's wrestling ability will secure her this victory over one to watch, Luanna Carolina. My decision again, Molly. Next fight. It's going to be a good fight, man. It's going to be a good fight. We have Jack Tank Shore versus Tamir Lucky Velif. Now, those of you who know Tamir Velif, he did get knocked out by Trevor Jones in the second round, but up until that knockout, he was pure dominating Trevin, I'm sorry. So even though here it says he's 4-0-1, that's 4 wins, no losses, 1 draw in his last 5 fights, he actually got knocked out right here, but it was overturned due to my boy Jones smoking marijuana. So we take a look over here with Jack Shore. Clearly, he's 15-0. That means he's undefeated in his last 5 fights. He's the younger fighter. I'm going to have to take Jack Shore. That's going to be my underdog play. He's the younger fighter. I think his wrestling and his cardio, that's going to be a huge factor because I did see Tamir tired out against Jones. He tired out in the second round, which ultimately ended him. So because of those reasons, cardio, Jack Shore is not bad on the feet either, but his big game is wrestling. I think you put those all together against Tamir, you bring that pressure, and I think he wears him down and either wins by submission in the 3rd round or a decision, unanimous. I got Jack Shore. Next up, we have Nikita Krylov versus Paul Craig. Bear Jew versus the Miner. The Miner is 2-3 out of his last 5 fights. We have the underdog, Paul Craig, actually 4-1-1. That's 4 wins, 1 draw. I'm so sorry. Actually, I said 4-1-1. He's 4-0-1. 4 wins, no losses, 1 draw out of his last 5 fights. This opponent is game, but Nikita will have a 1-inch reach advantage, which doesn't impact nothing. He's the younger fighter, believe it or not. And I honestly think Paul Craig has one way of victory, and that is submission in the 1st round. Nikita is also game. Let's take a look at some of his losses. His first loss is Magomed Ankalaev, a prospect who's 14-1, who just fought Thiago Santos and is in line to be fighting for the championship, let's say within the next year or 2. His other second loss, Glover Teixeira. He's actually the heavyweight champion right now. He beat Jan Blachowicz to obtain the title. All 3 of these losses are very game opponents, all vets, excluding Magomed, and all bring it. So those aren't bad losses. That's nothing to be ashamed of. I think he's fought the higher competition, and he did give all these guys, look at this, he lost to Glover Teixeira in a split. So it was a close fight. Same with Jan. So I'm taking Nikita. This guy's riding a 4-0-1 fighting streak. My pick is Nikita. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an exciting fight. We have Shamil Abrek. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this last name. Abdurak Imaf versus Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich is 4-1 out of his last 5 fights, and his opponent 3-2 out of his last 5 fights, and he's riding a 2-fight losing streak. He's gonna need to bring it in this fight, or he may risk being cut from the UFC. This Russian, they're both from Russia. Sergey is my pick. I say he knocks him out in round 1 and puts this man to rest. He's got the youth advantage. He's 29 years old. He's going against a 40-year-old Shamil. And at one point in time, this man was feared, but I think his time is up. 84-inch reach advantage. So that does no justice for Shamil. And because of these reasons, Sergey Pavlovich is who I'm picking. Next up, returning to the octagon, Gunnar Nelson. He's a beast, I ain't gonna lie, but he's going against Takashi Sato, a huge underdog in my opinion. And I just think Takashi has been the more active fighter. Gunnar Nelson's coming off this long layoff. I honestly think Takashi is good enough that he might land that punch and knock Gunnar Nelson out in round 2. I'm going with the underdog, Takashi Sato. It's gonna be a pretty close fight. I wouldn't load up on this, but I'm just going to have to see something from Gunnar Nelson. He's been inactive, in this fighter, Takashi Sato, has been active, and he has a mean straight. For those reasons, I'm taking Sato. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess this is a prospect card. We got Patty, the baddie, Pimblett versus Rodrigo Vargas. Yeah, I like that name. I like saying that name. I'm gonna say it one more time. Rodrigo Vargas. Think I know some Spanish in a minute. Paddy, 4-1 out of his last 5 fights. And we have Rodrigo Vargas, 3-2 out of his last 5 fights. Paddy will have a 2-inch reach advantage. He will be the taller fighter. And he's riding the 3-fight win streak and all the fan hype right now. I am taking Paddy Pimblett, but I do think the betting odds are a bit wide. So I wouldn't load up on this. If anything, I would put him in a parlay. Yeah, I'm not betting this straight. I wouldn't bet this straight. Parlay or pass for me. I say Paddy Pimblett submission round 1. I think he possibly lands a nice strike that hurts Rodrigo Vargas, and then he takes us back and submits him with a rear naked choke. Next fight, we have another prospect in the featherweight division, Arnold Almighty Allen versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. Arnold Allen is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, and Dan Hooker is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at some of the losses. Dan Hooker, before we judge a book by its cover with losses. He just lost to Islam Makhachev, which is in line for a title shot soon. They call him Khabib Nurmagomedov's successor. I'm sorry, successor. I wouldn't say that. I'd say protege. Pretty much, Islam Makhachev is next in line. He's 20-1. That's not a bad loss. We can't judge him for that one. Let's take out his next loss. Michael Chandler making his Bellator debut. Knocks out Dan Hooker in impressive fashion. But if you know who Mike Chandler is, he is a beast. And that was just a beautiful executed punch. Not taking anything away from Michael Chandler, but Dan Hooker did get caught. Dustin Poirier, now the 155 contender, and the man who knocked out Conor McGregor, not once, but twice. So we're looking at these 3 losses. These are all high-level opponents that Dan Hooker has lost to. Arnold Allen just simply hasn't fought anyone on the level of Dan Hooker. And for those reasons, I have to pick the underdog, Dan Hooker. Make no mistake, this will be a good one. It is close to odds I actually like. Arnold Allen, put some respect on your name. You did fight Sadiq Youssef, another prospect I'm high on. But my pick is Dan the Hangman Hooker. Next up, in our main event, Alexander Drago Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. So let's look at the record of their last 5 fights. We have Alexander Volkov. He's 3-2 out of the last 5 fights. And we have Tom Aspinall. He is going to be 5-0. Out of his last 5 fights, and he's the underdog, and this is my Gordon play. That's my max play for those of you who are new. It's gonna be my Gordon play of the week. I'm taking the hot prospect Tom Aspinall to knock out Alexander Volkov in the first round. I think he's just quicker on the feet. Alexander Volkov's gonna be too slow, way too slow on feet. I think Tom Aspinall has enough takedown defense. His get-up game will prevent him from getting takedown and held there if he does happen to get taken down. The power edge goes to Tom Aspinall and the speed, and you put those 2 together and you got Gordon Station. Now that's corny. Devastation. Tom Aspinall, knockout over very well-gamed Alexander Volkov. Thank you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And please, if you want to get a hold of me, contact me on Instagram, Gordon Sports Picks. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.